There was a line to a quarry at the end of Thomas's branch. It goes for some distance along the road. Thomas was always very careful here, in case anyone was coming. He whistled. Then the people got out of the way and he puffed slowly along with his trucks rumbling behind him. Early one morning, there was no one on the road, but a large policeman was sitting on the grass close to the line. He was shaking a stone from his boot. Thomas liked policemen. He had been a great friend on the constable who used to live in the village, but he had just retired. Thomas expected that the new constable would be friendly too. He whistled, "Good morning." The policeman jumped and dropped his boot. He scrambled up and hopped around one leg till he was facing Thomas. Thomas was sorry to see that he didn't look friendly at all. He was red in the face and very cross. The policeman wobbled out, trying to keep his balance. "Disgraceful," he spluttered. "I didn't sleep a wink last night. It was so quiet, and now engines come whistling suddenly behind me. My first day in the country, too." He picked up his boot and hopped over to Thomas. "I'm sorry, sir," said Thomas. "I only said good morning." The policeman grunted, and leaning against Thomas's buffer, he put on his boot, and he drew himself up and pointed to Thomas. "Where's your cowcatcher?" he asked. "But I don't catch cows, sir." "Don't try to be funny," snapped the policeman. He looked at Thomas's wheels. "Huh, no side plates either." And he wrote in his notebook, "Engines going on public roads must have their wheels covered and a cowcatcher in front. You haven't, so you are dangerous to the public." "Rubbish," said his driver. "We've been along this line hundreds of times and we never had an accident." "That makes it worse," the policeman answered. He wrote "regular lawbreaker" in his notebook. Thomas puffed sadly away. The Fat Controller was having breakfast. He was eating toast and marmalade. He had the newspaper open in front of him, and his wife had just given him some more coffee. The butler knocked and came in. "Excuse me, sir. You were wanted on the telephone." "Bother that telephone," said the Fat Controller. "I'm sorry, my dear," he said a few minutes later. "Thomas is in trouble with the police, and I must go at once." He got down his coffee and hurried from the room. At the junction, Thomas's driver told the Fat Controller what had happened. "Dangerous to the public, indeed. We'll see about that." And he climbed grimly into Annie the coach. The policeman was on the platform, on the other end. The Fat Controller spoke to him at once, and a crowd collected to listen. Other policemen came to see what was happening, and the Fat Controller argued with them too, but it was no good. "The law is the law," they said, "and we can't change it." The Fat Controller felt exhausted. He mopped his face. "I'm sorry, driver," he said. "It's no use arguing with the policeman. Well, I'll have to make those cowcatcher things for Chumish, I suppose." "Everyone will laugh, sir," said Thomas sadly. "They'll say I look like a tram." The Fat Controller stared. Then he laughed. "Well done, Chumish. Why didn't I think of it before? We need a tram engine. When I was on my holiday, I met a nice little engine called Toby. He hasn't enough work to do, and he needs a change. I'll write to his controller at once." A few days later, Toby arrived. "That's a good engine," said the Fat Controller. "I see you brought Henrietta." "You don't mind, do you, sir?" asked Toby anxiously. The station master wanted to use her as a hen house, and that would never do. "No, indeed," said the Fat Controller gravely. "We couldn't allow that." Toby made the trucks behave even better than Thomas did at first. Thomas was jealous, but he was so pleased when Toby rang his bell and made the policeman jump. Then they have been firm friends ever since.